Here's a sneak peek from today's episode.
I joined the team, and because of my music background in radio, my CEO said, I've had this idea and I want to do it so bad. And I think you have the connections, from your music background that we could actually do this. From the time we booked them and made a plan and made a 16-city Shuck and Shack tour to the first tour date, it was 4 weeks.
Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Darren. Darren, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Yeah, Darren, I'm excited for this conversation. It's going to be a ton of fun. But before we dive in, let's get to know you, your background, your career. And then on top of that, we always ask, what do you love about content and marketing?
All right. Well, my name's Darren Keeler. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Shuck and Shack Oyster Bar. What I love about marketing is everything and nothing, because you could create something from nothing, right? Like you start at the very bottom and you're not overthinking any ideas that pop in your head. So when you have absolutely nothing in your head, you could plan and mold an idea better with having other ideas kind of get in the way of that, right? So that's what I love about marketing. And there's also not one way to market. Right. We're sitting on a podcast right now about marketing, content creation, storytelling. There's multiple podcasts, multiple YouTube videos, multiple everything out there. And like the one question people ask me, especially like franchisees are like, how do I market? Like, what's the right way to do this? Or has to be like a magic bullet? I'm like, no, there's not. I was like, you have to learn from everybody and make it your own. And if there's one right way to do it, there would be one YouTube video from like Gary Vee or somebody. And like, that's all everyone follows. And then that becomes boring because everyone's the same. So that's what I love about marketing, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different way of approaching it. And I love it when it's super creative.
I love it. And I think that's a great response, a great transition into our episode. Today, we're going to talk about storytelling and creative ways to tell your story, whether it's events or things of that nature. You have so many cool examples. You do such a cool job of all of this stuff. So quick question to kind of kick things off, Darren. How do you really start to figure out how to tell your story in a unique way? Like, how do you wrap your mind around it? Where do you get inspiration? Where does that come from? How do you start to think this way?
You don't want to get inside of our heads at Shuck and Shack Oyster Bar, because it is a journey. You will get lost. It's like going through a jungle. We go from point to point, and all of a sudden we get on a tangent about like our favorite movies or like artists from the 80s, right? So it's really funny how we create the content that we do at Shuck and Shack Oyster Bar. Obviously, we have our brand guidelines. We know what our company culture is, and we live that, right? Yes, we preach it, but we live that. We're a beach brand. We're a East Coast seafood sports bar and a laid back vibe, right? We don't want to be a stuffy, uptight restaurant that serves oysters. We just want to be an oyster bar that you come in with your flip-flops, shorts, t-shirts, watch a game, and have fresh oysters and steamed seafood, cold beers, right? And to be honest, that's how we live. Our co-founder, Matt, he walks in our office every day. If he's wearing closed-toe shoes, sneakers or dress shoes and not flip-flop, there is something seriously wrong. And we live that life. So, it's great. The content that we create starts from that company culture and just our personalities. We have a great team on the top that our personalities all mesh together. Yes, we have differences between us, right? And like some personality traits that are different, but we all mesh together. And once we all come together, you see that company culture just blend and mesh all together. And that's where those content ideas come from, but with brainstorming and wild ideas that we get in the middle of the night and we can't wait to bring it to the table the next day.
I love that. So you guys live the culture so well. It's fun because you're like, okay, this is what's appealing to me. I am the target audience. I'm the kind of person that fits into this culture, who fits into this lifestyle. Even when we were talking before, like you were a longtime fan of the restaurants and you've been there before and you kind of synced with that vibe and all that fun stuff. I think that's a component that a lot of times people don't even think about. Like if you are going to be a part of a company and a brand, you need to live that culture and that lifestyle to have those creative ideas flow and to really perform your best work. I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to that story, you said it best. Before I was marketing with Shuck and Shack, I was a radio DJ for about 15 years. I started up in Albany, New York. I came down to Wilmington, North Carolina. I did everything from morning shows, midday shows, afternoon shows. I worked with a lot of musicians, top 40 musicians, alternative rock musicians, comedians, celebrities, everybody, right? I had a blast. I had so much fun. And then unfortunately I got laid off from that job and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I was a radio DJ. I was in the music industry. I don't know what else to do. Where do I go from here? And then I thought about it and I said, you know what? I can market. I was a marketer for all the clients that advertise on our station. I was a marketer for the songs I was playing next. I was a marketer for the comedians that had a local show that would come by the studio, for the celebrities that had a new book they were selling or a new line of whatever they were selling. So I was marketing all of that. And I said, you know what? I could do marketing. And it just so happened that Shuck and Shack, when I was looking for a job, they posted a job for a social media person. I applied for it right away because I knew the co-founders when they built the original location. I went there a lot. I know that's hard to say when it's a bar, but I went there a lot to watch games, to watch baseball, hockey, football, drink a beer, have some oysters, have some chicken wings, and hang out with all the locals and people around my town because it's a local hangout spot. And I loved it. So once I saw they're hiring, I said, and they're hiring for a marketer, I was like, I'm all in because I love the brand. I love the lifestyle. I love the co-founders, the people that work there. I was their target audience. So it made it easier decision for me to apply for that because I know what the target audience wants because I was the target audience.
I love that. And then what's crazy is you went from this part-time position and in the last 5 years have gotten up to the vice president of marketing. And I think that is an incredible shout out for anyone who's looking for their career pathway. There's been a lot of layoffs, especially in technology lately, things like that. To me, it shows that if you find the right fit, the culture, a place where you just thrive because of who you are and what you represent and how creative you can be, there's like no limit to your potential at that business. So I think it's such a cool example there.
Yeah. It was one of those things. I didn't know where to go because I was laid off from my prior job that I made a career out of for 15 years. And then I was like, you know what? I fit in with this culture at Shuck and Shack. I knew what they were all about and I could do social media. I did it for a radio station, right? I can market. And it started out as a part-time gig. And within a year or so, I started climbing the ladder. I didn't know everything about it. And, if someone in the marketing industry says they know everything about marketing, they're absolutely lying because it changes every 30 seconds. Like we know this with AI, we know this with, Meta, like every hour there's a new update, right? Google, everything. There's a new update every 30 seconds on some platform that we all use as marketers. So if someone tells you that they know everything, they're completely lying. As long as you keep up and you are being creative with your brand and what you're marketing, then, you'll succeed. And that's how I kind of climbed the ladder.
I love that. So shifting gears again to some of these events and the creativeness that you have. Again, you're a restaurant and you have, a bunch of locations, things like that. But you launched a tour, the Fresh and Raw tour. Where did that come from? And what does that do for the business? I'd love to hear this story.
Yeah, so it's called the Fresh and Raw tour. We partner up with Truist Bank, Novant Health. This year we have Red Bull a part of the tour as well. So it's pretty cool seeing how this has grown over the past 3 years. So the beginning of the story was our CEO, Jonathan Wethington. He went to a Garth Brooks concert with a friend. They were supposed to have a third with them. The third guy did not show up. So his friend went on Twitter and started tagging like mid-level country artists in Nashville. This concert was in Nashville. And he just listed out a bunch of them. And he said, we got an extra ticket to Garth if anyone wants to join us. One of these country artists replied, I'll join you, showed up, and just sat next to the guys during a Garth Brooks concert. While they were sitting there, Jonathan had this idea, and this is when we were at like 6 Truck and Shack locations. Now we're up to 18 open, building 5 more.
That's incredible.
So he was like, I had this idea of singer-songwriter kind of a tour at 6 of our locations. And like, what do you think about that? The country artist was like, yeah, that's great. And then the concert got over. They left. Never came of anything. I joined the team, and because of my music background in radio, my CEO said, I've had this idea and I want to do it so bad. And I think you have the connections, from your music background that we could actually do this. And all of a sudden it just formed within 4 weeks from when we created the actual template of it and booked 2 singer-songwriters out of Nashville, one hit singer-songwriter, CJ Solar, that first year, who has hit songs for Jason Aldean and Morgan Wallen, and up-and-coming singer-songwriter Warren Garrett on that first year. From the time we booked them and made a plan and made a 16-city Shuck and Shack tour to the first tour date, it was 4 weeks. We got sponsors.
That's not a busy 4 weeks and all.
We got sponsors. We created actual tour posters, table tents for every location. We got the media out there, the press release, sizzle reels for it was an actual tour that you go to when you're going to like Madison Square Garden to see a concert. Like, we were trying to make that into our local shacks, right? That can fit 100 people into it. And then we formed this idea where we're not sure if it's a big enough draw for singer-songwriters that you've heard the song, but you don't know the people behind it. It's a cool story, right? To see the people that wrote those songs at your local Shuck and Shack in your town. And we're bringing the Nashville party to your town. That's how we kind of twisted that messaging, right? You've been to Nashville, music is everywhere for 16 hours a day, and we're going to bring that party to your town. But we also wanted to do good while we had this tour. So our co-founder, Matt, he is a leukemia survivor. He had leukemia about 6 years ago. He's in remission. He's doing awesome. And the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society did a lot for him. One of the reasons why he's still here, and a lot of other people. And they give so much support, and they do a lot of research to try to cure blood cancers. And we want to do our part to help them. So we coupled this Fresh and Raw tour with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So all the shows are free to come to. There's no ticket pricing.
That's so cool.
There's no cover charge at the door. It's pretty much a pay what you can. And all this money is going to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So the first year we raised $52,000. The second year we raised $80,000. And then this past year we raised $75,000. So over the past 3 years, we raised over $200,000 for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
That's so cool. That's amazing. So with this tour, I mean, you said they're at all your locations. It was a big draw. It also served a lot of good. I love it. That's creative storytelling at its finest. What did it do for your brand? What did it do? I mean, it's probably not that easy to measure the ROI of something like this, with all the costs and everything like that. But what do you feel like it did for the business, and how did you justify it and keep doing it?
Well, the brand awareness portion of it is huge when it comes to this tour, because no one really does what we did and are doing. Right. So it's one of those things where it's this really cool idea. It's a really cool theme, using hit singer-songwriters out of Nashville, bringing them out of Nashville, bringing that party and good vibe to your town, whether you're in a big city or a secondary city. And we're doing good while we're putting on this tour. There's so many stories with cancer survivors or people going through cancer treatments. While we hit 16 different cities, I hear probably 6 to 10 stories from a survivor to someone going through treatments, or unfortunately people that have lost someone in their lives, right? So every time we stop at one of these tour dates at one of our Shuck and Shacks, it's real heavy with hope of, we know what the end goal is. The end goal is to cure blood cancers and cure cancer in general, right? And you hear all these stories and it's super heavy, and you walk away kind of like emotionally drained, but knowing that you're doing good and you've touched all these people's lives in a way that some restaurants don't know how to, right? It's not like they're just coming in and eating crab legs and having a beer and then walking out. Like, there is meat to what we are doing during this tour, and we walk away with these stories, life lessons, like different outlook on our own lives every time that we walk away, and our staff and our customers do too.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, crazy story right now is I literally got a text message 2 minutes ago. So right in the middle of recording this, I had a good friend in high school. He actually passed away from leukemia, and his parents were just texting me, "Merry Christmas. We need to see you over the holidays," all that kind of stuff. So you're right. Like, it's crazy to be a part of such a big cause that really touches so many people. And I love how you took it beyond. It's not once have you talked about sales numbers. We sold X amount of more oysters and made this much of revenue and all that stuff. For you, it was, hey, we built a brand, we built a culture, we built this sense of belonging for people who want to get together. They want to be a part of a community and they want to support a good cause. I love that. Like, I feel like no matter what brand you're in, you can have a mission and a goal outside of making money. And I think if you do that, the business people want to support you from that perspective.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, sales are great. You need money to sustain your business. And we do increase sales, year to date on those days that we do the tour dates. And then, we always have new customers that come in for those tour dates at each of our locations that become loyal customers well beyond that one day, right? But, there's something to be said about making an impact on a consumer when they walk through the door for that community event. Right. Our original location, Carolina Beach, they do the bulk of the donations and raise the most during this tour. We give 100% of our sales the entire day back to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And it is our highest sales day of the year. Yeah. And we give it all back to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So, it's one of the highest sales days of the year. But, that gives testament to our co-founders still run that store. Right. And they're like, this is our community. We've been here for 18 years. And, this is near and dear to our hearts. We want everyone in our community have fun and raise money for a good cause. And by the way, everything you're drinking and eating right now, all that money's going back to this cause. Right. And people say we're crazy for doing that, but we don't care because we built a culture on that.
Yeah. Well, and just hearing that story, I live in Utah on the west side of the country. If I were on the East Coast, and when the next time I promise I go on the East Coast, there's no doubt in my mind that I have to go to one of these locations. And I already feel like a sense of kinship towards the location just because the mission, the cause, the culture, like there's zero doubt that I want to participate. I want to be a part of that. I love that. I think that there's so much that you're doing there. That's amazing. So hats off. Incredible story. I love it. So cool.
I love that you love it.
Nice. I love that too. Well, Darren, we unfortunately are out of time today. We like to keep these episodes short. There's some other campaigns you've done that are massive and cool. We'll probably have to have you on for another episode. But in the meantime, if anyone wants to connect with you online, how and where can they find you?
You could go over to LinkedIn. I'm on there. You can follow me, Darren Keeler, DarrenKeeler. You could follow our social pages, Shuck and Shack Oyster Bar. We have really fun things. We do memes all the time. We're big into the meme life and showcasing our signature cocktails and crab legs, oysters, storytelling. If you want some storytelling, we have a lot of videos up there, and you could really get a sense of our culture and who we are, because it's not all straightforward. Here are specials. It's we get creative with a lot of things that we do on social media. So you can follow us on there. And link up with me on LinkedIn.
Love it. I love it. Well, Darren, again, thank you so much for sharing these wonderful stories with all of us today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.